Saturday's Miami versus Florida game in the Swamp in Gainesville was a nationally televised event that let the country know what the good people in Pullman, Washington have known for the last 2 years, and that is quarterback Cam Ward is something special. Now, Ward didn't disappoint in this game, and either did the Canes, as they kicked Florida's ass up and down the field. And in fact, the final score of 41-17, the game wasn't even that close. And while Ward was spectacular in his Miami debut, there were some issues that we need to talk about today. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. Quarterback Cam Ward's debut.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, the stat line for Ward was really, really impressive. He was 26 out of 35, which is 74%, which is, that's where your quarterback needs to be. If he is in the 70 percentile with his completion percentage, that means he's playing catch and moving the sticks, and Ward definitely did that. So 26 for 35 for 385 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, and then he added 33 yards on the ground for a total of 418 total offensive yards. And by the way, those 41 points we talked about, those were the most given up for a home opener for the Florida Gators in school history, as in ever. The most points given up in a home opener. Not good. The offense for the Canes was pretty close to being a well-oiled machine. 529 yards. That breaks down into 385 passing and 144 rush. They averaged just under 8 yards every time they snapped the ball. That's impressive. The other thing that was really noteworthy in this game, and I think that this is really a nod to the coaching staff, Mario Cristobal and his staff. Offensively, not only the yardage total and the execution and the points and all that, but they didn't have any penalty yards on false starts or procedure calls. They didn't line up wrong formation-wise. They didn't have any holding calls. They didn't have any delay of games. And those are usually first game penalties that you'll see where you've got guys that are, you've got the offensive side of the ball that's trying to work out some bugs maybe. You got a little bit of nerves on that side. And in game one, that's usually the game that you see those types of penalties. Well, Miami had 0. And that's the mark of a well-coached football team. They were prepared. Cam Ward said as much after the game in the post-game comments. And they were ready to roll. They went in and were playing in a hostile, it was supposed to be a hostile environment. We'll talk more about the fact that Florida's play put Florida's fans to sleep from the get-go. But the fact that Miami came into a supposedly hostile environment for an in-state rivalry game and to play with the type of poise and execution that they did on offense was really impressive. And, defensively, they kicked Florida's ass also. So it was total domination on both sides of the ball. Now, there's been a lot of talk going into this season about Cam Ward stepping in to run the air raid for the Canes. And that offensive coordinator, Shannon Dawson, he's an air raid guy. And Ward has lit people up his entire college career playing in the air raid, whether it be at Incarnate Word and then Washington State University. And now he's stepping into the so-called air raid at University of Miami. But what we saw Saturday, that was not typical air raid. That was not Mike Leach's air raid. And, Leach and some of the guys in Leach's coaching tree, those guys are like pure air raid guys. And when you talk about air raid, you're talking about a handful of passing game concepts that are just staples. And while we did see some of the air raid concepts in this game on Saturday, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, their first touchdown that they threw was on a mesh route, which is a staple of the air raid. And then you saw Ward hit a couple of backside deep crossing routes. And then, of course, they threw the shit out of the punch and bubble screens. Those are all staples of the air raid, but the rest of the offense was mainly just like a hybrid of getting the ball downfield on intermediate throws and mixing in the running game. And, you know, the execution was such that they put up 41 points and they had a chance to score even more. But, you know, they're going to take those 41 points and be happy with it as they go back to Coral Gables and get ready for game 2. Now, when quarterback Cam Ward got his feet set or relatively close to getting them set, and when he delivered the ball in his normal delivery, arm slot delivery, he threw absolute seeds. And the two best throws I think he had the entire game, the first one was on a corner route that put them up 24-10 right at the end of the first half. He threw a 24-yard corner route where he just threw an absolute laser, and he just threw an absolute rope on that play, and that was very impressive. And then the other great throw, this one was the best one of the game as far as I'm concerned. It was at the end of the third quarter. It was a 23-yarder where he got flushed to the left. First of all, he did a great job of, as a right-handed quarterback, when you get flushed to your left, you want to reverse out of it. You want to reverse out because that gives you the depth that you need to get on the perimeter. And for whatever reason, when you reverse out going to the left as a right-handed quarterback, almost always that defensive end or that six technique is whiffing, grabbing air for whatever reason. So Ward, you know, being well coached, he reversed out, escaping to the left, and then he rolled left, and he had a receiver coming from the right that was running the back line. This is kind of like a broken play. So he was running the back line, and Ward, drifting with guys coming at him, didn't get his feet set and threw an absolute gasser and hit the guy right in the chest on the back line for a touchdown. That was a 23-yarder, and that was his best throw of the night. But with all the stats that Cam Ward put up, and for as impressive as he looked, there was a couple of things that bothered me about his game, and particularly early on. I was somewhat shocked with what I saw with his feet and his drops and his technique in the pocket, especially in the first quarter. He just looked like he had lazy, sloppy feet. And, you know, there were times where instead of getting his feet set and delivering the ball, he would drift or fade and throw it falling away or fading away when he didn't need to. And it caused him accuracy problems. And then the other thing that was really maddening to me was he would drop down and throw the ball almost sidearm at times when he didn't need to do it. Okay, now we all saw him in the game throw those punches and bubble screens where he's just getting the snap, and I call it hand grenading the ball out to his receiver, where he's catching it and just dropping down and sidearming it out there. And man, he does that better than anybody in college football. But those are on punch screens, right? You don't do that when you're in the pocket trying to drive the ball down the field and you have time to set your feet, deliver the ball with your normal arm slot, and put it on guys. I know he missed a touchdown in the game from about it's about the 12-yard line going in on a quick little bender route where instead of getting his feet set and delivering the ball, he threw it kind of fading away and then dropped down sidearm and threw the ball down into the ground, missed a touchdown catch. He also threw the ball, behind guys, doing that. And I don't know why he was doing that. I was pretty shocked in the first quarter watching him do what he was doing, because I watched a ton of him last year at Washington State, and I didn't see him do this at Washington State. He was pretty close to being a machine with his feet at Wazoo, and a lot of his drops were 3 and hitch, deliver the ball in rhythm and timing. And what we saw Saturday was just slow, sloppy feet, and I refuse to believe that this is the evolution in coaching quarterbacks now, where there are no feet involved with the drop. It's just drift around back there and then rely on your arm to stick the ball in. Now, there were a lot of routes that you couldn't see the routes because the film was so tight. But I'll guarantee you that Cam Ward missed opportunities to throw first read routes where he wasn't ready to throw the ball because his feet were bad. Now, the one thing about him that gets him through the night is his arm talent is so phenomenal that he can make up for having sloppy feet and not throwing the ball on time by when he does throw it, he gets it out of his hand. That thing is just a buggy whip, and boom, it's out and it's in the receiver's hands. But you can't rely on that. Okay. He's got some issues going on with his feet. At least he did Saturday. That's going to bite him in the ass at some point in the season down the road. And so I'm hoping now that moving forward, we'll see some improvement with that. And I know that there's a bunch of guys out there going, well, Coach, what the hell are you talking about? He threw for 385 and 3 tugs. And yes, he did do that, but inconsistent feet. And again, I don't know what Dawson is teaching him. This may be something that Shannon Dawson teaches his quarterbacks to do. I'm not sure. I just know I didn't see it last year from Cam Ward at Washington State. And that's just one thing that I really believe in as a quarterback coach, that it starts and ends with your feet. And that every time a quarterback gets in trouble with accuracy problems or sacks or whatever, it usually can be traced back to his feet during his drop, or accuracy problems with his feet in his delivery, off balance, weight distribution issues, stuff like that. And so the fact that Cam was able to put up those numbers that he put up, that's just a real testament to his arm talent. And hopefully we'll see some improvement in him as we go. And I know that's a crazy statement after the numbers that he put up in the game that he had. That's kind of crazy for me to say that. But I'm just a big believer in a quarterback's feet. And I just think it's going to help him down the road. Okay, the other thing that, kind of bothered me about Cam is the run game. So when they're running the football, he's handing the ball off. He's got 2 hands on the ball. He's seeding it into the running back's stomach. And he gives the ball, and instead of continuing on with a run fake, he just stops, plants his feet in the ground, drops both his hands down to the sides, and watches the running back go. Now, why is this an issue? Well, by him doing that, he's taking the threat of him pulling the ball, which he's more than capable of doing on these zone read type deals. It takes the threat of him pulling the ball out of the equation. And so you've got linebackers in the box, inside linebackers, and you've got safeties behind them that are keen on him at some point in time, glancing at him, keying on him. And just the simple fact that if he continues on with a run fake, like he may have pulled the ball, that's all you need to freeze an inside linebacker or a safety, or get them to step one way or the other, which puts them out of position and opens up run lanes for the running back. But as soon as you hand the ball off and just stop and watch, everybody in the stadium knows that the running back has got the football. There's no threat for the quarterback. And so that's something that was kind of shocking for me to see. And again, that's something that's got to be coached. That is something that Shannon Dawson is either coaching or allowing to happen. But I think it's going to help Miami's running game out if Cam gets more involved with carrying out run fakes after he hands the ball off. Okay, which all of these little critiques that I have on him, I wrote some notes down when I was watching this game, and the one thing that I wrote early on was, is Cam playing too cool for school? And I always used to have a saying with my quarterbacks where I said, play good, don't play cool. Be good, don't be cool. And I could be totally wrong on this, but it was almost like he was so nonchalant with what he was doing. He was so laid back with what he was doing, and it carried over into his feet and his drops and dropping down and throwing sidearm like he was trying to be too cute. And he has got such a skill set and such talent that he doesn't need to do that if that's what was going on. And as I said earlier, he didn't do that at Washington State. So maybe it's different coaching. It's different coaching philosophy. I don't know. But that was kind of a head scratcher for me. And regardless of all of that, all he did was go out there and just kick Florida's ass. And he really looked like a guy that had total control of what they wanted to do offensively. And, so take that for what it's worth. Okay, couple thoughts on the Gators. Number one, I know that the head ball coach was there watching the game, Steve Spurrier. He had to have been just shaking his head, going, what in the world am I looking at? Excuse me. I just watched a podcast that he did, a Florida football podcast that he did today, Monday. And he wasn't real pleased with what he saw Saturday. And I don't think he's real happy with Napier, the head coach. He didn't come out and say that. You could just read between the lines. And the Gators just didn't look like a very good football team. That's the bottom line. They just didn't look like a good football team. And that's got to be really, really disappointing to Gator Nation. I think that the biggest problem that people had, and this one jumped out at me, is Florida did not play with any fire or a lot of effort at times, which is mind-boggling to me. That's inexcusable. It's the first game of the season. It's the home opener, and it's against an in-state rival. How you could not be fired up to play that game, and it was evident that they weren't from the get-go. That's a coaching problem right there. That is a total coaching problem, preparation, culture, all that stuff. I think he's on the hot seat right now after one game, and they really should be. There was no excuse for the type of effort plays. I mean, there were numerous plays in that game where Florida's guys were just flat-ass jogging or even less than jogging. There were two runs that Cam had in the first quarter that just were amazing to me. On the first one, he got flushed out of the pocket and he's running down the right sideline, and there's no one around him. And I'm watching him run, and all of a sudden he's like, 10, 12 yards from the sideline, and he starts veering to the sideline and starts slowing way down. And now here come the DBs. There's two or three of them for Florida that are slowing down. And I thought that I missed a whistle. I thought that there was a whistle that blew the play dead, but no, that wasn't it. Florida's players said, screw it. We're just going to quit and ease on while he's 10 yards on the field. And Cam said, okay, well, if you guys are going to just gear it down, then I'm going to gear it down, which I don't know how happy I would be if I were Dawson and my starting quarterback was doing that. I mean, and then there was another scramble, and this time Ward's going down the left sideline, and you've got 3 or 4 guys for Florida that just geared it down and just quit at the end of the play. And that's just amazing to me. I mean, that's not how you play defense in Division I football, and that's not how you play defense in the SEC, and that's not how you play defense in the Swamp. Really disappointing. So moving forward, what do we have for the Miami Hurricanes? Well, they're in pretty good shape. They've got one of the least challenging schedules now of any Division I program. And so they're going to be favored in every game probably the rest of the season. And we're going to see what type of job Cristobal and his staff does, because I'll guarantee you this: on Tuesday, tomorrow, when they get back on campus, everybody on campus is going to be patting the players on the back and telling them how great they are. And Cristobal and his staff now have got to keep those guys focused and get better in week 2 than what they were against Florida. And so you're going to see one of 2 things happen. You're going to see them get after it this week in practice, correct mistakes, and get better, or you're going to see them get caught reading their press clippings. Now, I think that the first one's going to happen. Cristobal and his staff, these guys have got their players dialed in, and their quarterback is such an alpha and such a smart leader that he won't let them get derailed. And if you go back and listen to Cam Ward after the game, talking on the field, post-game interview, man, he handles himself in that situation with such ease, and he shows what a great leader he is. He says the right stuff. He compliments the right positions. He's humble. But you can also tell that he's focused and he knows where they're going and he knows how to get them there. And he's not going to allow them to, get caught reading the press clippings. In fact, he said it, I'm paraphrasing him a little bit here, but he said, I'm going to enjoy this game for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to start preparing for this next game. And I'm sure that he will get that thought process across to his teammates as well. He's a true alpha leader, and so I think that the Canes are in really good shape for the rest of the season and in great shape with their quarterback. Okay, so one thing I got to tell you guys, I missed last week doing a show. COVID blew through our house for, it's been about the last week and a half, and it's been an ass kicker, and everybody in our house has got it. And I'm sort of limping through it today, playing hurt, but I had to get back in the saddle. And so I apologize, but I think I'm at the tail end of this stuff. So that's why you didn't see me for about a week and a half or whatever. But we're back and wanted to give a reaction to Cam's first game for the U. I'm also going to try to get one in this week where I give you my thoughts on Jayden Daniels and where he's at with the Washington Commanders and what his preseason looked like as he gets ready. He's going to be the starter going into the season for the Commanders. And so that's going to be coming on later on down the road this week. But If you enjoyed today's show, please hit the like button. If you like listening to my take on the absolute hardest position to play in all of sports, the quarterback position, then hit the subscribe. QB Unfiltered, greatly appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you think of Cam Ward's Game 1 performance and the Canes' Game 1 performance. And, I think that things are going to be, it's going to be an exciting year for the U. All right, this has been QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.